I'm down.
Yeah, so it's live. So all you gotta do is press got it.
Okay, and wait for,
It's on. It's live.
All righty.
we're in
Okay,
business.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's
Mine,
November.
hold on just a moment. Okay. I was gonna say mine still said practice. You're good.
All right, we're good.
Thanks, everyone. And good afternoon, everyone. It is November 6th, 2023 at 2:07 p.m. And I'm calling this meeting of the CDA Selection Committee to order. Jackie, could you please call the roll?
Committee member Kian,
Present.
committee member Ingracia,
Present.
committee member Alexander,
Present.
and committee chair Pfeffer.
Present.
Yep.
With that, thank you. We'll now move on to the next item in our agenda, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Does everyone have access to the minutes first and foremost? Great. Any discussion, any comments on the minutes? With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Great. Jackie, the motion has been made and properly seconded. Could you please call the roll?
Sure. Committee member Kian,
Aye.
committee member Ingracia,
Aye.
committee member Alexander,
Aye.
and committee chair Pfeffer.
Aye. Minutes are approved, and we will now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is review, discussion, and potential approval of responses. So just to recap here, we previously issued, and this committee approved the issuance of a request for proposal for grants management systems. We received 7 applications. We, at the last selection committee hearing, pared that down to a short list of 4 vendors: Worldwide Technologies, Summit Technologies, Cloud Synapse, and Application Software Technologies, all of which proposed Salesforce grants management systems. The committee approved us to do follow-up interviews and demos with each of those, and we have done so. Now we do have a recommendation for you all today, but I'll talk about each of them in turn. And I'll note as a kind of contextual point, the kind of ecosystem of grants management and Salesforce instances that we have currently active in the city. The first one that we currently have active is in the Office of Violence Prevention, which contracted with Application Software Technology to develop its Salesforce case management system. The second system that we have is the SLDC Salesforce system, which is really designed to manage its incentives work stream, and that was a contract with Summit Technology. In addition to this agreement to set up our grants management system, ITSA is also working with the Board of Public Service to procure a front door to the city of St. Louis, and I believe that RFP is out or recently closed. I actually think it recently closed and they're beginning to do demos. One of you all may be on that committee and know better than I. But in any case, it was really important to us throughout this process that we really engage with ITSA, that we engage with the city's Chief Technology Officer, Simon Huang, as we conducted these demos to make sure that whichever direction we went in, it is aligned with the overall direction that the city is moving in and it's not duplicative. And so where we've landed is that the CDA grants management system will essentially be one room inside of a broader Salesforce ecosystem, which ITSA is procuring. And so will the Office of Violence Prevention and et cetera, different rooms within the kind of Salesforce ecosystem. And so with that, we interviewed the 3, and I'll just be very candid with our recommendation that far and away, pretty unanimously among CDA staff, we were most impressed with the Worldwide Technologies team, with their significant experience doing precisely this kind of work, having developed grants management systems for over 100 different jurisdictions, and by the team that they had assembled to work with us. The other providers also provided compelling presentations, but when we looked to the kind of degree of nuance and fit to what we were trying to do here at CDA, Worldwide Technologies was clearly the most the best fit for CDA. That said, they were also the most expensive proposal, and that's why we were very gratified that when we shared this with them, they actually came back with a reduced price that was over a $100,000 reduction in the quoted price. And so where we are now is that AST has proposed a price of $735,000. Cloud Syn App has proposed a price of $399,000. Summit Technologies has proposed a price of $659,000, and Worldwide Technologies, I actually only have their initial price, which was $868,000, but I don't know if Mariana or Rashonda, you all have the updated price. I can pull it up here in a moment, if not.
They also weren't the most expensive. They were the most expensive on the short list, but we did have a provider, CloudWave, come in at 1.8. So just for the record,
That's a great
1.8 million.
That's a great point. And I'll toss it now. Well, first off, does the committee have any questions? And then Rashonda and Mariana sat in on all these interviews as well and have their own perspectives and insights to share as well.
I just have a quick question. Were you able to touch base with Worldwide Technologies? I mentioned to you that we've had some difficulty with them in the construction that we're doing here and the technology upgrades, specifically with their subcontractor Coltrane. So I just wanted to make sure you all could avoid any possible pitfalls.
That's a good flag. There is a subcontractor on this, but it is not Coltrane. We were actually tremendously impressed with the subcontractor that they identified for us, which is the entity that really has the deep experience with not just grants management systems in general, but HUD and grants management systems in particular.
Okay, yep, then I just encourage to make sure that you all feel like you have a direct contact with someone at Worldwide Technologies that can help troubleshoot if things do go wrong. But other than that, I don't have anything. Thanks.
Rashonda or Mariana, would you add anything?
I don't have anything to add.
I'll add I was really impressed with Worldwide Technologies. Something that I really appreciated from the get-go in their presentation is they were very detailed, more so than the others, and you could tell they had a lot of experience with federal funds. For example, like in the demo they showed, they were showing HUD programs, and they even had the matrix codes on there, which is a very niche thing that is very specific to CDBG and like something that is really important to what we do. And to include that on the presentation, to even know like that was a thing that needed to be involved and would influence how the system would perform and like what different requirements people would have. I personally found very impressive compared to the other demos that we saw. It was also much more detailed and customized to CDA and the needs of federal grant programs, whereas most of the other applicants that we sat through in the demos we sat through were very generalized. And like, this is how a grants management system would work. You could tell that Worldwide Technologies and their subcontractor really did have that experience with CDBG in particular, which I call the stickiest of all the federal funds, and really knew what they were doing and the requirements that came along with that, whereas other people more talked about their ability to learn those requirements.
That was a great point, Mariana. The matrix code, just for understanding, is something that we use when we report to HUD in their internal system called IDIS. So it helps identify eligible activities and the funding sources. So thanks for that note, Mariana.
And I'll add, to put a name to the subcontractor, it is Coastal Cloud, is the principal subcontractor led by Sarah Hale. And then our points of contact at Worldwide Technologies would be Ian Hilton and Michael Gallagher. Anne, you also sat through all the demos. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I'll echo a lot of what was said about worldwide technology. One of the things though that I did want to raise that I was really impressed by was, again, they had really thought through what it meant to run a grant management system. So for example, one of the features that they had included in our demo was the ability to translate the application into other languages, which is personally I was impressed by, that they realized that we would administer grants to people for whom English might not be their first or their preferred language. And it was those little touches, those little just kind of, as Mariana had said, evidence that they had done this before, that they had thought this through, and they knew what types of features they could add that would be of most use to us. That's why I found them the most impressive of the applicants.
And then finally, thank you, Anne. And then finally, I'll add that the final quote went down from 868,000 to 764,574. Do we have any other questions from the committee? It is CDA staff recommendation to contract with Worldwide Technologies.
No questions. This is helpful. I'm glad you guys took the time to interview them and talk through it all.
Great. In that case, at this point, I will entertain a motion.
What are you entertaining the motion for exactly? Because
I'll entertain a motion to authorize CDA to enter into an agreement with Worldwide Technologies to provide grant management system services, software as a service services.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Jackie, could you please call the roll?
Committee Member Kyung.
Aye.
Committee Member Ingracia.
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander.
Aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Aye. By your motion, you have authorized CDA to enter into an agreement with Worldwide Technologies, and we can move on to the next item on our agenda. And that is issuance or consideration of requests for issuance of professional services. It's actually requests for qualifications. So we shared this around earlier today. It is a RFQ, and the reason it's an RFQ is because when it comes to architects, you don't want to pick the cheapest architect, you want to pick the best architect. And that's true of architects and engineers when you look at the processes for procurement. And we're just happy to go through at a high level what we are looking for here, and then answer any questions. But in brief, we do have an architectural manager here at CDA, but we have found it difficult to recruit for the position due to pay. And he will be retiring soon. He actually was a former principal at KAI, was retired. We pulled him out of retirement. He's done wonderful work for us, but he also recommended strongly that we look at hiring an architectural firm to provide these services. And this doesn't necessarily mean instead of an architectural manager, we will still continue seeking a permanent architectural manager. But in the meantime, and in addition, we think it's essential that we develop a contractual relationship with an architectural firm that can do design reviews. Context for design reviews, CDA administers over 75 housing awards, and before we disperse any funds, before we enter into any loan agreements, we require the developer to submit their drawings, to submit their designs for architectural review to ensure compliance with federal standards, quality standards in particular. This is on top, of course, of compliance with the building code, which is checked by the building division, and on top of compliance with historic preservation standards, which is reviewed by the Cultural Resources Office. Our standards are really quality standards. And so with that, we want to issue this request for qualifications to procure such an architectural firm. Our architectural manager put together in collaboration with Mariana this RFQ, and happy to answer any questions.
So just at the top, I'm used to these rules for how we do RFP postings, and I've always been told that questions were allowed to be submitted up until 7 days before the proposal's due. So if we're looking at your timeline of December 14th, then people can submit questions up until December 7th.
Okay, we can make that change. Do you know if that's a standard or required in any way? Because I will share that we have run into problems in the past where a quick turnaround on questions is a capacity drain for us, and that's why we try to give ourselves a little bit more time to respond.
Yeah, I've always been told it's a standard. I don't remember if it's in 64102 or BPS's procurement standards, and I don't know if your team does this, but the ones I've been a part of, people answer questions as they're submitted and just make sure you update your document of when it was last updated.
Yeah, Grace, it is part of the BPS rules that get adopted. It's not part of the ordinance, but that's the correct number of days.
All right, we will update it accordingly. So you're saying that the questions should be due December 7th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's up to your department. I know the ones I've been involved of, people answer questions as they're submitted. But if you guys prefer to answer it by December 11th, I saw the date you just added, Rashonda. I don't think there's any rules against like how many days in advance you have to answer questions before proposals are due, but we are supposed to allow folks to submit questions until 7 days before the proposals due.
Great. We've updated the questions due, and then for Q&A posting, you suggest December 11th, Rashonda?
I just changed it to 12/12 just because it's a Monday, so it'll give us time over the weekend, but yes. And then I'm changing the rest in the actual document.
Perfect. Alrighty, any other questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to authorize the issuance of this RFQ.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jackie, could you please call the roll?
Committee Member Keung,
Aye.
Committee Member Ingracia,
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander,
Aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Aye. By your motion, you've authorized us to issue this RFQ. I don't believe that we have, I believe this is our only open RFQ. I don't believe we have any outstanding selections to make. I will inform you, just as a courtesy, that CDA is preparing to select a home repair contractors, but those are not professional services. And so in deliberation and consultation with Jackie, we concluded that that process did not have to go through the selection committee. Happy to answer any questions about that, but if there's no further questions, we will reconvene once the RFQ for architectural services is closed and we are prepared to select that architectural firm. Any further questions? So I think that for next meeting, we're looking at December, I'm trying to find after December 14th. Do we want to try to meet before Christmas break, or do we want to plan to meet early January?
I'm fine with meeting before if you have a sense of urgency. I don't have a problem with that.
I think we do, because we anticipate that our architectural manager, this is probably his last year with us, and maybe retiring fully at the end of the year. And so if we can meet before, that would be much appreciated. Does anyone have any vacations which we should be aware of as we look at scheduling?
No, if it might be helpful if people have just an extra couple of minutes now. Are we able to put something on the calendar?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe the the week of the 18th probably seems the most reasonable.
I'm hoping to be approved for vacation during that time to take my kiddos to Mexico.
As long as we have a quorum of 3, then it should be okay.
Yeah, I'm free that week. I could do Tuesday afternoon, and Thursday is relatively open too.
Same for me.
Let's look at Thursday. I'm gonna try and pull up y'all's calendars. Can we look at Thursday at 1? Or whatever time works. I think we're all very free from 9 to 2.
1 works for me if it works for everyone else.
Great. If Kevin, you could send out that calendar invite and we'll hold that time. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Oh.
Second.
Jackie, could you please call the roll?
No, all in favor? We don't need.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.